Hi, Emily. Okay, I'm going to call a meeting of May 11th to order. Our first agenda item is open forum. Members from the commission have anything for open forum? No? Mass?
The select board at their meeting last night recommended the article to allow for leases or licenses of Hill Orchard up to 5 years, which will be at the town meeting, which once again is June 11th at Westford Academy Field, starting at the time it starts at.
So just so you guys know, I won't be there because I'm having surgery on June 9th and I'll be laid out for about a week. Okay, so someone's got to, if they got questions, someone's going to have to get it. Okay.
June 9th.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Emily has something from the audience.
I do. I have two things. Thank you for having open forum. Emily Teller, Texas Road. The first thing is I'm a little concerned about a development that I think you might say this is a planning board issue, but I just wanted to bring it to you because I think you might have talked about some of the trees. There is a development on Carlisle Road at 3739 Diane Lane. And I think they might have come before you, but maybe it was a tree hearing. I can't remember. But there was a big tree out by the road. Well, basically, they've clear-cut every tree in the boundary of the whole development. They've clear-cut all of it. And
Ours?
No, it didn't come before the commission. The commission's involvement was regarding the, to see if the commission would accept a conservation restriction in the southwest corner of the property. The actual development itself is wholly outside the 100-foot buffer and outside the commission's jurisdiction.
And I'm still concerned about the ecological effect of something like this happening. I understand that you are to implement the town zoning bylaws, especially as it has to do with wetlands. But I don't know where else to go with this, and I'm happy to go.
Tree warden, maybe?
Well, there was no.
Well, the planning board can throw in special conditions, so.
Well, I'm just bringing it to you as something to think about from a conservation, ecological, environmental, climate change
We always talk
perspective.
about I always thought we were supposed to be saving trees that were over a certain diameter.
Everything's gone.
Wow.
It was a wooded lot, 100% wooded.
Does it match the approved plan, the clearing limits on the approved plan?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm just raising this as an ongoing future issue that it seems like you might want to somehow be involved in.
Well,
Because it just seems
People won't
wrong
even
to
come
me.
to us.
Yeah, if that's
not in our
the
jurisdiction.
tree people, yeah.
we
know.
wouldn't even see the plans, Emily. That's the problem.
Well, is that a problem then? I mean, should you have some input? I don't know,
If everything's outside the buffer, then it wouldn't come to us. The problem here is that the planning board can regulate how many trees can come down. I know they can, because they've discussed this at the development up off of the old horse farm,
Yeah, Griffin Road.
Griffin Road.
oh, yeah.
They put limits, because when we did our site walk, we did a joint site walk with the planning board. And as we were doing the walk, they were asking them specifically which trees are staying and which aren't.
And
they
I
had
was up
input.
there yesterday, and the trees by the road, they're very careful about.
Yeah.
I couldn't really see the back part of the lot. But I'm glad about that, and I don't know what to do. I'm just raising the issue in open forum,
Okay,
because it seems like when something like this happens, it's really a shame.
yeah. But feel free to go to a planning
I
board.
will, I totally, I'm there.
Okay, great.
And the second thing is, whenever I come to hearings here, it's really hard in the audience because the proponents sit here. So what I would like to suggest is that this two-seater be moved over to here so that the audience can participate and hear them equally. And then if they have things to show, if they put them here or if that's another issue. When they put stuff up on an easel, we can't really see what it is. But it would be really helpful if proponents could sit here. You all can see them, we all can see them, And the last time I raised it, somebody said, well, it's up to the select board. Well, the select board's meeting virtually, so it's irrelevant to the select board. If you need permission, I'll go to them and ask.
You know, it really is from them.
All right, I'm happy to go and
Yeah,
ask.
okay, go, so
But it
if you
seems
can do
like
that.
this
That would be
be-
fine for us. I don't think, you know, we have a problem
I
with
have
that,
no
right?
issue with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you,
Okay.
gentlemen and ladies,
All right,
for
thank
your
you.
patience always.
Any other comments for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is an appointment with the Friends of East Boston Camps requesting waiver of fees. Marcia Stokes here. I have to recuse myself since I'm an officer of the Friends.
Hi, Marcia Stokes, 10 Holly Lane.
Evening.
We are planning on having two events this fall. One is a Great Gatsby Gala on September 10th, and that's a fundraiser for the camps. And the second one is our Fall Festival, which would be on October 9th, and that's free wagon rides, music, food, a nominal fee. They get a bracelet and can play games. And we are hoping to have the fee to use the camps waived, since all of our money goes towards funding the camps. And it's been done in the
How
past.
much are the fees, Matt?
I mean, for an event, it's probably $1,000. And this is a consistent request with previous years and
Yep.
has regularly been.
Agreed, in the past. So I have,
I'm good with it.
yeah, I'm good with it. Any further questions from the commission in regards to this request?
Move we waive it.
Questions from the audience in regards to the request? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
I move we waive the fees for the Friends for their two events, one in September, one in October.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
You're fine?
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we're a little ahead.
Huh?
We're a little ahead. If you want to take the,
What do you want me to do?
the Flowers to Empower draft agreement,
Oh, yeah.
which I provided.
So we have the license here for Flowers to Power.
Approve the changes that I requested, and they're all on there.
They're all
Even
on there.
removing follow-up?
Pardon me?
Even removing follow-up?
We
Farmer?
did, we
Yeah,
didn't.
No, she's on there as a tenant, but
Okay.
not on there as
As
a,
an owner?
Yep, yeah, so
and I think that's necessary because there is a paragraph in there about the cooperative sharing of the water resources, and she's acknowledging that she's gonna cooperate.
Okay.
Yep, and I think it just kind of included the discussion we had with the project proponent at the meeting, and also sought further guidance on regarding the insurance, the question of the high insurance limit from town manager's office. So this is, the project proponent would be available later at the meeting, but if we can take things up earlier, as we are running ahead of schedule for once.
Fine. Looks good to me.
Well, the only question I had was, Jim, you had talked about, I think it was you, somebody had requested a report.
It's in there.
Yep,
That's in there,
it's the
okay.
third paragraph under 4.
Okay,
It says
It's
by
kinda
December
grade.
1st of each year, they're gonna report on their activities for the year.
okay.
And present to the commission.
Right, at a
Okay.
regularly scheduled public meeting.
Okay,
That it?
yep.
Can I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You want me to sign a copy? Or?
Yes, I have copies to sign. With not enough signature lines. How about that?
Sorry, Eric.
He doesn't follow the lines anyway.
I can read straight.
All right, that's all. What do you want to do next? Enforcement order?
Do the activity at the end of Hemlock Road. Noel has sent, I can pull up the photos.
Hemlock Road,
Yes,
we got your photos.
yes.
Kids playing?
So it's an obstacle course, essentially. It's like a bike. They're.
It's what Jim was saying.
Yeah.
What
they're-
it looked like anyway.
Yeah, and, but, there's also,
Oh, yeah.
this tree is being destroyed right here. They're hacking into it, and there's a couple on the side here that have recently been hacked into. And then right here,
and I keep filling it in. For some reason, they keep digging this hole. It's like 2 feet deep. But they're destroying this area.
So do you know, you don't know who these kids are?
Well, I have seen the kids that live on Hemlock there,
Yeah.
hanging out there, but I haven't
Yeah.
actually seen them doing anything.
Okay.
But there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood, so there's no real way to tell who's doing this.
But have you seen them when they're doing it?
No.
No.
I
See, that's the problem, because, I mean, we can ask the police, they'll get down and, you know, take identifications and find out who they are. So we can then send letters out to the parents, but we somehow need to find out who's doing it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this-
I mean,
this
putting up a
area-
sign is, I don't think is gonna do any good.
No, we put up those rocks to stop with the dumping, but the dumping is continuing.
Yeah.
And, I was
We could ask
actually
the police
wondering
to
if
just
maybe.
patrol down.
Yeah, I
there.
can certainly
Why don't we ask the police
speak
to
to
patrol
the
that?
police chief about
Yeah.
trying to
Find out who's doing it.
times that there would likely be activity there, you know, probably middle of the school days, probably quiet.
I was wondering if we could somehow, I don't know, put up like a temporary fence and just signage saying like this area is being
Monitored by a trail camera.
monitored. Yeah,
Can we just put up that sign first and see, you know?
and I've actually thought about putting my trail cam
It's like
down
this house is being protected by ADT or something.
there. Being revegetated or re-established and, you know, just marking it off and not allowing anybody to really go in there until it is reestablished.
I can tell you right now, if we put up a fence, they'll go around it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
There is a trail that goes from the left side straight across to
There
the right
is,
side.
yeah, so I was talking about like right in the front,
Yeah.
or maybe we could do some plantings there and letting them know that we're trying to reestablish this area. I don't know.
But they'll probably just destroy
Commission's
those.
discretion.
Just reestablish it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what they're into.
but we need to find out who it is.
Yeah.
I can certainly reach out to police
Reach out to the
and,
police and see if we can identify at least one of the parents that we can, because then that will pass the word along that,
Okay,
because we'll threaten them with fines. All right,
all right.
okay, sounds good. Yep, thank you. All right, anything else short I can do here in 2 seconds?
minutes?
Okay, minutes from April 13th. You guys have any corrections?
Hang on a second.
Good? Jim?
Hang on, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't think so, but just wanna check.
It'll take, you know, 60 seconds of deliberation.
You good?
Good?
Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. All right. Let's move on to our 7:15, which is a public hearing for that. 8 Powers Road, it's an IDA.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at 7:15 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application for Rabi Bat for the abandonment of an existing failed sewage disposal system and installation of a new septic tank and leaching field, and installation of a water line to the existing house from the water main within Powers Road, within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 8 Powers Road.
Evening.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Ravi Bhatt, the owner of 8 Powers Road.
Oh.
Share the,
Yep. I am. First day at the new job.
I usually bring a hard copy, but I figured I've been here so many times where you put it up. I'll skip it. Perfect. So 8 Powers Road is, it's between Carlisle Road and Route 110. It's that short little segment there.
Oh, yeah, the ranch.
This is kind of just beside or in front of Sugar Maple Lane.
Right, yep.
It's kind of the lone house in that little stretch. It sits up high above the wetlands. There's wetlands on either side. It's kind of the property, the dry area is kind of a peninsula sticking out into the wetlands. So right now, the system is on the front left corner of the property. It's within the 50-foot buffer zone. The tank is in the front yard, and it's serviced by a private well in the backyard. So we're proposing to, in order to get further off the wetlands, we're proposing to eliminate the well, tie it into town water, which is in front of the property on Powers Road. We'll eliminate the septic tank in the front yard. We'll just pump that out and fill it in, and then we'll change the plumbing around in the interior of the house so that rather than it coming out the front of the house, it'll come out the rear of the house. Then we'll put in a new septic tank. That'll be 70 feet off the wetlands, and then we'll run out to a leaching area, which is 62 feet off the wetlands. And that's kind of balanced between the wetlands on both the right and the left.
I couldn't read note 9 on my paper. Does it say that you not only are not going to use the well, the existing well, but you're going to remove it, cap it off? Okay.
Yes, correct.
My copy, I couldn't read it.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty small, I would guess.
Soils are probably all sand there, right?
It is all sand, yes. It's all sand. It's been to the Board of Health. It has been approved by the Board of Health.
Any
This is
questions?
basically a trade-off. He's not really any closer.
No, he's actually
No,
farther
actually
away.
further away.
Exactly.
And it's a better treatment system than
Yeah.
Yeah,
the tank.
yeah, it's, you know, it's maximum feasible compliance, so. Yeah. Okay, we're good with this?
Yep.
Okay. Motion to approve the RDA with conditions?
Anybody have?
Questions from the
Questions
audience?
from the audience? I'm sorry. No, didn't think so. Motion?
So you may second it?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Check.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
you're good, Kevin, yeah.
Here's the signature page.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we'll move on to our 7:20, which is a public hearing for the Reardon Group LLC, 2 Oakdale Road, 334-1798.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at 7:20 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Reardon Group LLC for the abandonment of an existing well and failed sewage disposal system and installation of a new septic tank, leaching field, and water line to the existing house from the water main within Sand Beach Road and Oakdale Road within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 2 Oakdale Road.
Good evening. Jeff Hannaford, representing the applicant for work at 2 Oakdale Road. If you're not familiar, it's actually at the end of Sand Beach Road, which is off of Beaver Brook, not too far from Concord Road. It is a dirt road, both Sand Beach and Oakdale. Actually, this house is the only one listed as on Oakdale. The one immediately to its right is listed as Sand Beach. I think it's number 21. So with that, the dwelling was built in the early 50s, probably as a cottage. It's not very far from Forge Pond. The wetland is associated directly with Forge. But at any rate, there were issues here. When I looked through the Board of Health files, they had housing violations and issues. The place had really gotten run down. The new owner has been going through and cleaning up the site. There was a lot of debris, construction debris and whatnot around the outside of the dwelling. That's all been removed, or at least 95%. The owner is going to renovate the inside. There'll be no addition or increase to the footprint of the dwelling, but it did need a new septic system. This house and the house immediately before it is serviced by private wells. There is town water on Sand Beach Road, so what my client has opted to do is to run a small 2-inch water service from the existing end of the line down to this house here. That'll eliminate the well, which gives us room more room, not a lot of room, but more room to work in upgrading the septic system. They've had a conversation with the neighbor. It's possible they may tie into the town water. A stub will be left for them for any time they wish to upgrade to it. So we're filing for the install of that water line and the new septic system. The new septic system will consist of an innovative alternative type septic tank, specifically a single air. It is a secondary treatment allowed by DEP with enhanced removal of TSS and BOD. The leach field is a conventional stone and pipe type leach field. The reason I went for that in this situation is the area where the leach field is proposed is currently open and is the only area they really have to park. So I knew that it would have to be capable of withstanding vehicular traffic. And that really would have limited what I could have used with an IA. A Presby can be made to be driven over. However, in doing that, it increases the profile or the height of the system. Looking at that, it would have required some filling in that area to do that. One of the other reasons I thought I'd go with the conventional was we're able to maintain the 5-foot offset from the bottom of this leach field to the groundwater. A lot of times when we use the IAs for leaching, it's because we can't meet that offset that is required by Title V. So that is a new construction standard that we do meet with that. And because of the proximity of the wetlands and the neighbors well, we did introduce the septic tank IA, which actually is more efficient than the leach field IAs. So it's one of the systems approved for situations such as this. The biggest concern is the offset to the existing well. So we've provided that. And the existing system is a cesspool to the back, very close to where we're showing the tank. It's closer to the wetlands than what we're proposing, and it is a cesspool, and there's no doubt the bottom of that's probably in the water table. So this should be a significant upgrade to water quality here. There'll be quite a bit of erosion control installed. We need it around the dwelling for the septic system work, and then we need it, I think it's about 300 feet back up onto Sand Beach Road for the water line installation. There's a floodplain associated with this wetlands. It's a studied floodplain, and the specific elevation is 207. That's shown on there. We are not doing any filling or changing of grades, so there'd be no alteration of the floodplain. And as I mentioned, in this particular situation with the 5-foot offset for the leach field, we just make the proper amount of cover over this leach field without changing any of the grades in that area. So we were fortunate that this was just high enough up that we were able to do that, and we're not proposing any tree cutting. It's already cleared as is, and no change of grades.
So the closest point to the wetland's 30 feet. Is that how I'm reading this? 30 feet to the wetland? Is that
Yes,
how
sir.
I'm reading this?
Yep. The existing one, I think, is about 20.
Questions from the commission?
So you said they were gonna be doing some addition onto this home at some point?
No.
Okay.
No.
So two bedrooms gonna remain a two-bedroom, and it's a two-bedroom septic?
Right, it's going to be deed restricted to that.
And the Board of Health already approved this?
They have not yet. It'll be at their next meeting. This is one, because of the neighbor's well, it has to go before the board itself.
Well, it doesn't seem like they could do anything over here because the well is right here.
Yeah, right.
So they had to stay away from the well.
Well,
Seems like it's gonna be the best they
We
can
we
do
could
for
approve
the
it, but,
situation.
if the Board of Health for some reason,
Well, it's
wants to modify.
it's a notice of intent, so we'll continue
Oh, it
this.
is? It's not
Yeah.
an IDA?
No,
Okay, good.
the proximity, it was.
So when are you meeting with the Board of Health?
I'm actually having a meeting with Abby Graham Friday, the agent. The plan's already been reviewed once, and the plan you're looking at contains revisions based on their review. So I don't expect anything else to change. The meeting with Abby is this Friday, and we're going to discuss the presentation to the board for the well variance. And so I think we're good with what we have.
Okay, so we'll continue this to our meeting in 2 weeks.
Mr. Chair, just one thing, when I was out on site with the applicant, south of the right-of-way of Oakdale Road is a town conservation commission parcel. I would, at the commission's discretion, request that we put in install some boulders there so it's not being used as dumping or turnaround. I mean, there's a very small amount, but get something on there so that it's not being, used to plow snow into or just maintain the Conservation Commission parcel. So this the section between Oakdale Road to the planned south bottom, or this wetland in here is under the care and custody of the commission.
Yeah.
And so there's this small little portion between wetland flag.
But who owns the road?
I think it's a non-accepted public way. I can certainly look into that. But just below the right-of-way,
But you want him to put in?
well,
it's not his property.
it was to confirm with the commission if, we had got some boulders placed there, that you guys would be okay with it, outside of the filing with the commission.
So if they find boulders, we'll take them?
Yeah.
Or if the town wants to put boulders there on our behalf, they can.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other point would be, the erosion controls, have them install wildlife gaps in them if the continuity is going to be over, Mr. Hannaford, you said 300 feet for the water line?
It's about 300, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just, every 100
some
feet.
breaks in it,
Yeah,
yeah.
just have some breaks so they can get through to the wetland and back.
Any comments from the audience on this application? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue this to our May 25th meeting. Have a motion to that effect?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for the town of Westford, 0 and 12 North Main Street, 3341799.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of the Town of Westford for the remediation of contaminated soil associated with a historic mill complex, conducting exploratory test pit excavation activities, excavation of impacted soil, removal of off-site management of contaminated impact soil, and site restoration to existing contours within 200 feet of Stony Brook and within bordering land subject to flooding at 0 and 12 North Main Street.
Hey, welcome.
Hello, my name is Tracy Costa. I'm the LSP for the town. I work for ESNM. I'm a senior project manager.
Paul McManus from Ecotech, professional wetland scientist, working with Tracy on behalf of the town for this project.
So you may or may not know that the town was awarded a Mass Development Brownfields Cleanup Grant to perform some of this excavation. So there are two proposed areas of excavation. One area is parcel 30-73, which we refer to as Area of Concern 2, and that's approximately 15,000 square feet. And then parcel 30-69, referenced as AOC 4, measures approximately 9,000 square feet. Both of the areas contain similar contamination in that they're both contaminated with both heavy metals and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, associated with the former facility. In addition, at AOC 4, there are low levels of dioxins, and those are associated with an incinerator that is still in decaying condition at AOC 4. So really for us, the proposed remediation effort is to really excavate the soils out, and at AOC 4 also remove the incinerator, because that's considered a source of contamination. So we would excavate the soils. No dewatering would be required because depth to groundwater is at least 6 feet. We'd be excavating to a maximum depth of 3 feet below ground surface, backfilling with clean fill, also with loam and seed. If you'd like to chime in.
Sure. So, again, Paul McManus. So I inspected the site with Tracy. As your legal notice said, the entire work area is within the riverfront of Stony Brook. Much of it's also in the 100-foot buffer zone, and elevation 170, which kind of cuts across the middle of Area of Concern 2 and encompasses most of AOC 4, is within the floodplain, bordering land subject to flooding. So as part of the project, Tracy said there'll be excavation and then returning surface contours to existing grades to maintain the flood storage characteristics. There is, I found no bordering vegetated wetland out there. We basically have a fairly abrupt bank along the southern portion of Area Concern 2. Most of that is an old granite block wall. It's earthen and stone bank for AOC 4, but fairly abrupt banks. So we flagged those areas and tied the flags into that block wall at AOC 2 to define the jurisdiction. And as I said, pretty much the whole property is within the riverfront, just about. So as Tracy said, it's fairly straightforward work plan in terms of set up erosion controls, silt fence and straw wattle along the perimeter, and then remove the contaminated material. Tracy's folks would sample as they go. It'd be basically some field screening, and visual observations to determine what, what needs to go, what can stay. And then that would, prior to backfilling any area, that actually take samples, run those to a state-certified lab to confirm basically that they've gotten everything that they need to get in a particular area. So sometimes there can be a couple iterations on these things. If they go and they think they've gotten it, go and do those confirmatory samples. Obviously, they hope to get enough, but they don't want to spend more of the town's money than necessary in shipping clean soil. So every once in a while, they need to go back and do a little bit more. But then, as I said, the area would be backfilled to grade, including topsoil, and then seeded.
And the schedule for implementation of AOC 2 is this summer. AOC 4, more likely next summer, pending additional funding.
A couple of questions. The borings you've done here, how deep were those?
The prior borings, I believe, to a maximum depth of 20 feet below ground surface.
And based on the data from the bottoms or those at various depths, that's how you decided to excavate 3 feet deep everywhere?
Yes, actually, for AOC 2, we think we're only going to go 2 feet, and then maximum of 3 feet at AOC 4. AOC 2 is, the metals contamination is mainly lead. Lead is the driver, so we use a device called an X-ray fluorescence, an XRF detector. That allows us to really get these live results in the field to determine whether or not we've removed all of those lead-impacted soils.
Solid metallic lead, or is it salts?
No, it would be a metallic lead, yes.
And then with your 2 to 3 feet of excavation at AOC 2 and 4, how are you gonna, you said one of them, I think it was 2, you said is granite blocks on the shoreline?
And we're really, as we get closer to the shoreline, we're going to really stop excavation. I mean, our concern is to really not cause any harm to those areas or disturbance.
2 is bordered on the water by granite blocks, and how tall are those, 3, 4 feet?
How tall are those, would you say?
Tall enough that you can cut.
I
you
can actually
cut the
show
soil.
you photos, if you don't mind coming up a little bit. So this is area concern 2, kind of piece the photos together. So this is the spillway of the dam across the street. And you can see over here, right at the street, the block wall's fairly high, and then it grades down right in this area. It's just a few feet high. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. So you're not gonna be able to take 2 or 3 feet of soil away from it?
No, certainly not. As we get closer to Stony Brook.
Take less and less?
Oh, absolutely, because at the end of the day, we're able to average our results to achieve regulatory compliance under the Massachusetts contingency plan.
Granite blocks help you on 2. What's on the boundary of 4?
On the bank of?
Yes.
On the bank of AO4, AOC 4 is a more natural condition. It's a vertical soil bank of a foot or 2. I actually don't think I have a photo of that with me. But it's a more natural condition. You don't have the same block wall, but it's much less of an elevation gain.
And do the same sort of thing, just take less and less soil as you get closer and
Absolutely,
closer to the
absolutely.
And there'll be erosion control barriers with both.
Yes, and we've depicted those in the figure, so,
Yeah, they're there.
The one in the packet is better.
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
So I guess my question, in your removal, you take your 2 to 3 feet of soil during your soil removal. You use your XRF to check for metals, that's fine. Your PAHs you're gonna have to send out and for lab testing, those are expensive. When you take the soil and you put down the new soil between the two, is there any type of geotextile that you're gonna be putting down for
We can,
demarcation?
we can certainly do that. We can certainly do that.
Just so in the future, somebody knows.
That's a very, very good point. Absolutely, we can do that.
On other soil removal projects I've done, we've had something like that.
It's good to have that visual barrier, I agree.
Other than that, you know what the state's cleanup requirements, this is under the auspices of the Bureau of Waste Site Cleanup?
It is.
Okay, so they have their cleanup standards, they need to be met. You're gonna follow through on your prescribed remedial measure, and hopefully the results will be what they should be, and that'll be that.
Yes.
Other questions? Yep.
I did.
No.
What are you going to seed these areas with?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What is it gonna be
seeding?
seeded with?
At this point, we've proposed just an erosion control mix on the topsoil. AOC 2 is kind of an overgrown meadow area. It's got some sumac and brambles and that sort of thing. AOC 4 does have trees on it. It's different character. There's not much understory at AOC 4, but it does have trees on it. So it was unclear to us what the ultimate disposition and intended use of the property is. So we kept that, we kept it very simple, but we're certainly open to the commission's wishes in that regard.
I'd like to see it naturalized with, like a meadow, like a wildflower.
Well, is this gonna be left
yeah.
passive, is that
Yeah.
ultimately what this is, just,
There
Well, for
may-
now.
Yeah, there may be there may be development in future
future.
years. Again, this is, this was, an
Years away,
RFP
though.
was solicited last year, and there were
No takers.
no favorable options for the town, so that's where they sought the grant funding. So there may be development in future years here. It is a historic mill complex. I know in Mr. McManus's narrative, he does state that that's a defined term under the act, and so it would allow for redevelopment of significantly more, and exempts it from portions of the riverfront performance standards.
Right.
really? So my question would be why? Because something was there historically?
I can certainly, for the commission's
You know, and
next meeting,
I just say that because, like, you know, if I'm a homeowner and I take down a building or something like that, and it's, you know, close to a resource area, I'm not granted the opportunity in the future maybe to put that structure so close as if it's been removed. I believe the structures are removed from here, aren't they?
Yes, I mean,
And once they-
I can find the historic mill complex definition.
Yeah, I'm just
and,
curious
you know,
on how that works, because I know in some instances you lose your ability once a building is removed.
That was initially a concern I had after discussing with one of the members of Ecotech, saying, you know, because again, the ultimate goal is, is potential redevelopment. So losing that, I can find the sections
Yeah, I'm
of
just curious as to how all
and
that
include that
plays
in the
out
commission's next meeting.
and what the ultimate goal is,
Find the
because,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've actually had my head into this question on another matter recently, but the historic mill complex is a historic, a mill facility that existed prior to 1946, which is 50 years before the Rivers Act was passed. They just arbitrarily picked that date. So it had to exist prior to 1946 and have structures which are defined very broadly as essentially anything hard in existence in 1996. So in this case, we still have, you know, a large mill building there. And the regs say that the boundary of the historic mill complex, excuse me, is the waterside facade of a structure or retaining wall, vertical structure or retaining wall. So in this case, at AOC 2, we have very distinct, for much of that perimeter, we have very distinct vertical block wall that would define the limits of the historic mill complex. At AOC 4, we don't have that block wall, as I described earlier. So at AOC 4, it's a little less precise in terms of how one deals with that. You know, that question is something that's can be difficult. At AOC 2, I think it's fairly straightforward, but less straightforward at AOC 4. But the regs do say that there's, such areas are, you know, if found to qualify, are exempt from the riverfront regs. In this case, for this particular project, you know, this project would be eligible as a limited project for the cleanup in any event.
Right.
So it's not I guess I would suggest it's not an issue that the commission, for purposes of this filing, that the commission needs to make a specific finding on.
Correct.
Not at all, but it's nice to know, as we move forward, you know, what somebody's ultimate view or hope is for what could happen with these parcels. And, you know, sometimes, you know, people get far along and all of a sudden the burden falls on our shoulders to try to make something happen. And so it's nice to know early on what somebody's vision is. Makes it easier to work than, you know, having everybody get that far along in the process and now we need your blessing and permission. And then at that point, it's a lot harder to walk something back if you have to.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Questions from the audience in this application? Very good. Nothing from you, Emily? Okay, so we're going to continue this to our next meeting, May 25th. Motion?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you. What was that date, Mr. Chairman?
25th.
Thank you.
Move on to our 7:40, which is a public hearing for Furry, 14 Snow Drive, it's an RDA.
Under Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at 7:40 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application for Jim Furry for installation of a 20 by 34-foot in-ground pool with 100 feet, within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 14 Snow Drive.
Hi,
Welcome.
thanks for having us.
Just tell us who you are and,
I'm Jim
Have you
Fury.
planned?
This is my wife, Rosemarie Fury.
Hi.
We live at 14 Snow Drive.
And it's pool time.
It's pool time,
Yeah,
barbecue,
yeah.
pool time.
I can give some context for the commission.
Well, the pool is I mean, the septic is here, and they want to put the pool in between the house and the septic?
Yep. It's existing lawn. It came in
Yeah.
as a building permit. At that point, looking back to the septic plan, the most recent septic plan, I think it was from 2000 or so, and saw that the proposed location of the pool was in the 100 feet of the wetlands
Just.
resource site.
Just, yeah.
And
Just.
so after, you know,
Yeah.
meeting with the applicant on site and kind of explaining the process, was, you know,
Yeah.
it's
It
it's a
needs to
minor
come before us, but it just needed to come before us.
it's the wetland, it's the
Yeah.
local bylaw,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
state. It would be considered a minor activity under the state
See any
Wetlands
problem
Act.
with this?
okay, everybody good with this? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the RDA? No
moved.
conditions?
Install erosion controls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conditional
between the
RDA,
wetland and the-
approval? Conditional
So
approval.
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're good to go.
Thank you very much.
I mean, when it's in, maybe a barbecue at our house. I don't know, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, no, just kidding, not really. Thank you very much.
Good night. Okay, we're moving on to seven. I'll close the public hearing, thank you.
Yeah,
Motion,
so move.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, after this flurry last time to get up and sign, it's kind
Oh,
of like.
speaking of-
Signatures.
Speaking of which, thanks, Margaret.
Yeah, he forgot one last week and he
Still feel
tracked me down to get the four
On
signature.
that.
still feel bad about it.
You got enough signatures, I'm sure.
Okay, we're going to move on to our 7:45, which is appointment with Jay Brown, 44 Newport Drive, requesting permission to install a dock on conservation lands.
I can also provide some context prior to turning it over to the property owner. Parcel 68-3, also known as Shipley Swamp, was acquired by the town tax possession collection committee and ultimately transferred over to the care and custody of the commission. So the commission does own this parcel as the parcel of Shipley Swamp, as opposed to if it was on the other side of Enmore Drive or Enmore Road, it would be considered a Great Pond, or as NAB is considered a Great Pond. It's subject to the state's regulations, and as the homeowner can describe, she was looking to put in a modest dock for launching non-motorized craft, there you go, thank you. But, kayaks, canoes, paddleboards, and as such, the dock would be on Conservation Commission land. So as opposed to just kind of filing a notice of intent, if it was on the other side of Enmore, I wanted to come before the commission to get your thoughts regarding approval for that.
Yep.
I'm opposed to this. I really don't want to get into the mode of having private facilities installed on public land. We've had people in the past request, I think it was, they wanted to put beehives on conservation land. We said, put the beehives on your own yard and do it that way. And if your yard abutted the lake, you could get a permit. But this is the conservation property, and it would set a bad precedent to start approving installations on.
Yeah, we've never allowed this before. It has come up in the past a couple of times for different things. One was parking on conservation land, private drive, and once again, we've never allowed it for the reasons you stipulated.
It just opens the door to who knows what. We've already experienced some requests that we wouldn't want to approve. And we start approving some, then we're kind of obligated to do all of them.
So you don't actually have direct property line access to the water?
We do.
You do?
We do. The water level varies. That's a picture of our property, which goes right down to the water. The water level varies depending on the season, just because of rainfall and the height of the water.
So you kind of need a boardwalk to get to your dock?
Not necessarily.
It's just so shallow there. At certain times of the year, she has trouble launching, probably.
Exactly. So it would be more to prevent disruption of the sediment at the bottom. Because at this time of year, we're able to put in no problem and everything is fine. So our hope was, if it was possible, just to get information on if we could put in something seasonally or floating or put in, put out, to be able to avoid disrupting the sediment at the base, because the water, it does come up to our property line.
Okay.
I mean, I can see people launching off.
Well, that's
I
what's
can't
where
see
I
a
got
structure or
confused,
anything like that.
Because the plan showed that you had access, but where it's so shallow, then now I understand your issue.
Right. We see a lot of people, because of the way that the NAB bottlenecks into Shipley Swamp, everyone will come into the Shipley Swamp side to go fishing, and they're all using non-motorized craft, which is, we have no interest in any motorized boats by any means. So it would really be more so to just protect the bottom from any friction from kayaks, canoes, stand-up paddle boards. And even if it could be granted a continuation so that we could talk about this later in the season when the water level drops, I would appreciate that as well, if that is something that would.
I just can't see us permitting the activity of putting a structure.
We just never allowed structures or vehicles or anything, permanent.
I mean, you could do, I don't see a dock here. I mean, let's say if this was the conservation land and without a dock, you could, and this was a picture of it, you could simply launch out of it, without a structure. So, I don't think you're prohibited from using it. I just think we're just saying, no, we don't want a structure.
Okay.
Well, but the thing is, we're talking about a structure on conservation land. I think this is a picture of your property.
It is, but what I'm saying is, let's say if this was the conservation piece, she could be launching out from it. There'd be no need to put a dock. So I'm just saying, you know, I don't think the commission has any issues with launching from the commission's land. We simply don't want a dock put there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All we need to
unfortunately, I
say?
think that's where we're gonna have to come up.
Okay.
Apologize. I understand what you're trying to do here, but, yeah, it's just, it's tough for us to do this.
You understand, you can put kayaks, canoes in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
have
that's
no
okay.
way.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. When later in the season, as all of the lily pads grow, it does become thicker. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't doing anything wrong by disturbing the sediment or disturbing any of the ground where the water, when it does get shallow. So even if it was a floating structure or something that we put in or put out as we used it, not even something that remained as a structure, we just wanted more information to see
So
if it
if
would
you're
be
talking about something, a structure you put in and then take out,
per use.
would that be something you would do on your own property rather than the conservation?
I believe
She's
so.
talking conservation still.
Yeah.
I believe so. The initial image, it's hard to tell exactly where the water line comes up to.
Okay.
Because it changes depending on the season. So currently, the water comes all the way to the edge of our property on the farther right side of the line. So
Okay.
currently, that's all water, not land at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to put in some kind of float just for the, you know, to get into the thing, and then you take it out when you come back to shore, that might be okay. Because it's just a, you know, it's like putting another object in the water.
An inner tube
temporarily.
or something
Yeah,
like that,
sure,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and that's,
And that's okay.
yeah, but that's different than a dock.
Yes, right. And no kind of permanent structure.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. That's very helpful, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that information,
great.
and we do completely understand, because it is a unique situation being on kind of the lake, but having it be the conservation's property, so,
And we certainly want you to be able to enjoy the water. So,
thank you.
okay.
We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on to our 750, which is a discussion with Jeff Hannaford regarding subsurface sewage disposal system installed within buffer to jurisdictional wetland area 10 Low Road.
So,
Good evening. Jeff Hannaford representing himself.
There you go.
So tell us what you did, Jeff.
This is a situation that I really wish I could say there was some real easy identifiable reason for how this came about, when in fact it was a series of steps that led us to the conclusion that we were outside the buffer zone, to the point where a plan was done, submitted to the Board of Health, approved, and the system installed. During one of the final inspections of the system, the health agent noticed an area of wetlands we hadn't seen in our other visits out at the site. She contacted me and said, I think you should take a look at this area. I don't remember seeing it when we were out there doing the soil testing and one of the other site visits. So I said, okay, fine. That doesn't really show you a good perspective of what it's like to walk onto the site. If you see, there's a detached garage to the left of the house. It's kind of a unique garage where it actually is 2 levels. The back side is a garage under. So and it's paved down and around it. So when you access the back, you walk down that paved area to the left of the garage, and you're going downhill. And when you look straight back, there isn't a tree in sight for about 100-foot wide swath, all the way down to Stony Brook. So it's just something you can't miss when you walk out in the back. That's what I noticed first. But from the vantage point there, and it's lawn to a point, and then there's a lot of shrub growth. But it was obvious that we were going to be over to the right side and well beyond the 100 feet as we could see it. So when she mentioned it to me, that's the wetland I was thinking about, and I thought, well, maybe, you know, from her perspective, she thinks maybe it is a little closer. I didn't think it would be. I go out to the site. Right behind the system, you can see there's a tree line that goes around. So from between the system itself and the wetland, it is heavily treed. The tree line ends just a little bit beyond the system, and then it's wide open, like I said, down to the brook. So when I got there, I looked again, and I said to myself, no, this looks fine. And the installer said, and Abby wasn't there, the installer said, well, she was pointing to this area over here, which is really more towards right along the...
You can use a pointer, please.
Orange.
Yep. So here's the tree line, and it wraps around down through this area. So this, this area here, you can see clearly all the way through. There are no trees to obstruct your view. The only thing I can think of is that when we were out there doing the soil testing, it was late summer, early fall, and it may have been so leafed up that that area in the back here wasn't obvious. It's more like a finger-like that comes in and back out over behind these other houses to the right. But, you know, it was just really odd that we were both out there, both looked, never saw it, and proceeded. And then now without any leaves out, and when she went out, she looked and said, wow. And when I came out, I said the same thing. I was flabbergasted that, you know, I had been there 2 or 3 times before and never noticed that. So, you know, with that, we did survey locate the nearest edge of that finger, which you see there now.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The wetland finger to the septic.
It's right there, yep.
Leach field.
Yep, and then it returns back this way. We just located this much of it, the closest point. It turns out to be about 74 or 5 feet from the system. Totally embarrassed, shocked. I just can't understand how it was missed. It was an honest, grave mistake. The last thing I'd want is to be here under this circumstance. This is, again, sitting here today, looking at it, I can't understand.
So other than that, you know, and I get all that, where could you have put it?
Yeah, where was the old system?
The old system, there's actually 2 of them. As I mentioned, the grade drops significantly, so the house, like this garage, is a walkout. Right over in here, there's a cesspool right there. That's one system that exited out below the basement slab.
Okay, so it was
And
in
there's another system here that comes out up higher through the front. There's a well radius here and a well radius here, and again, this is sloping down 6 or 8 feet along the side of the house. So the system was in failure, this one. So the idea was the contractor that did the Title V was also a plumber. He knew the situation. He had done work here before, and he explained to me, we need to replace this one, but they also have this out back here. So he said, because this one goes out underneath the basement slab, he said, there's no way I can connect that and do something up front, and I don't think we've got the room up front if we're gonna combine them both into one larger. So the idea was, he could take this pipe inside and connect it down into this lower one before it goes out under the slab, thereby connecting both together. So the idea was, disconnect this cesspool, put in a new tank and a leach field here that was eliminate this and this. So that was the game plan, and that's why we were looking at that area. So, you know, had I seen that wetland originally, I would have filed, we'd be here talking about just what you see. This is what we're doing, why we're doing it. It's just, I can't apologize enough for this. I don't like
But the
being in
fact is, that you would have come with this plan to us, because according to you, there's really not enough room to put that back where that old smaller system was, right?
Not with the two well offsets and the change in grade.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you need to beat yourself up. I'm just, you know,
Yeah, you
it
should,
is the way it is,
Yeah.
you know. I think you went out there, you tried to do your best. You saw something after the fact, that happens, and it doesn't seem like the system would have ended up being much different, even if you had seen it.
right, exactly,
think
there's
we're
no other
okay.
place to
And
pull it.
that was why, you know, before this plan, I had, Mr. Hannaford submitted, you know, the letter that's now sideways. Upside down. All right, there we go. You know, kind of going through the rationale, you know, for maximum feasible compliance, if it were requested as an RDA.
So it's not like there's another ideal option that we've lost out on.
no.
Correct, but
Yep.
he needs to file an after-the-fact IDA on this,
Yes.
okay?
What did you see, skunk cabbage? What told you it was wetlands?
There was some skunk cabbage, but of course, skunk cabbage is not a end-all, tell-all. It was really a significant drop in elevation that went down into a flat area that was inundated with a lot of different wetland plants. So it was more of a change in topography.
Okay, so you know what to do, you gotta file an after-the-fact IDA with us. so-
Thank you very much. My apologies again.
Yep,
problem.
okay, accepted. Okay, we're moving on to our 7:55, which is a continuation of a public hearing and issue order conditions for Corvos, 12 Weedamo Way, Lot 1, 334-1791.
Paul's here somewhere. There he is.
Matt, Paul, welcome.
Everyone's here. Good evening, Matt Waterman with Land Tech Consultants and Paul Alphin, representing Weedamo Estates Inc. We're here for the continued public hearing of 12 Weedamo Way, Lot 1. Our last meeting was the last meeting, which was April 27th. Since then, we have some plan revisions. We've went through this a couple times. I think we were just fine tuning the restoration areas along the shoreline. We consulted with Norse Environmental. I don't know if Matt has the plan, maybe he could advance it to that one there, thank you. And so we worked with Norse Environmental to kind of provide a detailed planting plan for the three restoration areas. We had talked about the restoration areas along the shoreline last time. We had originally on the previously approved plan, the restoration area that's over on the easterly property line. There's a restoration here and there's a restoration here. The planting plan includes a seed mix, a variety of shrubs, a number of shrubs based on the square footage. And it's all listed on the plans. We added conservation posts. They kind of vary from along, where we would typically expect them along this easterly boundary, where there's this natural buffer. And then once you get along out in front of the camps, in front of the lake, the focus goes around the restoration areas, and then they jump over to the west side of the Camp A, and they kind of wrap around the beach area and behind Camp A until you get outside the buffer zone. I don't remember the total number, but I believe it was 30 to 35 posts. The standard posts detail the 2 feet in the ground, 2 feet out of the ground with the conservation plaque that we put on them. We updated the notes. There were some comments about kind of making some minor changes to that section AB along the primary shoreline where the camps access the lake. And it just kind of defined the natural areas a little better. Took out some of the wording on the mowing. It talked about leaving non-lawn areas as non-lawn areas. So we tried to beef that up, hopefully to satisfy the commission's comments. The dock that's out in front of Camp A, we have notes on both the docks that it shall be removed during the winter months. And then we also addressed the tie-off to the tree and putting a small anchor to address that the rub burns that were occurring on that one tree that gets tied off to. We provided impervious calculations from the previously approved plan. Matt had asked for that, I think, at the end of the last meeting. Be happy to answer any questions. I know there was a draft order issued, and obviously Paul is here to answer any questions as well.
Questions on the restoration plan, Byron? Satisfied with it?
Yeah, I looked at the material and I think it's what we were asking for.
Jim, you all set with this? You had questions? Any other concerns from the commission? Okay, we're good on that. The order, have you gone through the order?
Yeah, there was just one typo in the findings at the initial, the background, that referenced municipal water. I think it was the 6th or 7th bullet. It's a on-site private well. And I had gone through that and sent my comment to Matt ahead of time.
I also received a comment from Margaret. Yes, Margaret, regarding the project description after site grading, add the words restoration of previously disturbed areas adjacent to wetlands.
Yeah, it's something that you're doing, it's a major component, it just include it in the project description, so it's clear that that's part of what you're doing. The buffer restoration area you talked about.
Yeah, say, and what was it, what was the change again? I was trying to.
Okay, where it says site grading, follow that by restoration of the previously disturbed area in the buffer zone. So it's something you're already doing, and it's an important feature of the project, and just to note that it's something that you're doing. So.
A minor typo on 24 should be long sulfur pond and not name as it labeled.
Okay, thank you.
But I think it's just.
I'm gonna ask. Paul? Can you repeat the change that was made to project description?
Okay, where it says after the site, it talks about the things you're doing, and it talks about site grading, and then also restoration of a previously disturbed area in the buffer zone.
So you just want to add that to the project
Yeah,
description?
it's something that's there on the plans.
Yeah.
It's a significant feature, and I just
Right.
wanted to,
Put it in.
have it highlighted in the description.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more changes? We're all good?
Any more for us, Paul, or?
No, I'm just here because I love going to in-live meetings. I don't have anything.
We love it too.
Yeah.
Always good to see you.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve these amended order of conditions?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Yep. Motion to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you guys are good.
Thank you very much.
Attorney Elfin, send you the order.
Please do.
Yep, thank you.
Are you still here?
Yep.
Still here.
I'll go watch this, though.
There you go.
Okay, we're moving on to our 7:55, which is a continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Adams, 143 Colorado Road, 3341797.
Iris, if you want to I received a typo from Margaret. Within and 200 feet in the project description should have a space.
Got it? No other comments?
I just had one comment, it was similar to just providing a little clarification in the findings where it talks about that the commission had previously made a determination. There was just no reference that at that time Butter Brook was determined to be intermittent. And I think I know that the commission didn't necessarily agree with it, it went to a superseding order, and then it went on to a court case. But I didn't know if we could just provide.
We never said it was intermittent. So,
Yeah.
no.
Right?
It's
No,
up
I
to the
would-
commission, it's just a suggestion.
It was in your notice, I think, right?
I believe so, correct.
It was,
Thought it had been.
determined in the RDA that was filed with the original, that it was an
Right.
intermittent stream, and it was attested under the first iteration of the methods to determine whether,
Right, it's not our intent to argue the intermittent or anything now.
Well, if a decision was made by a higher power or higher authority,
And it's semantics, I think the only thing I envision was someone goes down the road, and 50, whatever, 20, 30 years, and tears the house down, and the amount of riverfront disturbance comes into play, and I thought it was just more to document the previous order, but I'll leave it up to the commission.
I say we leave it as is.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, we're gonna leave it in? Leaving it in, sorry. Okay, any other changes?
Nope.
Okay,
You looking for a motion then?
I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're good.
So
The
what
next
is
one
that?
too?
Yes, I'm with you for one more.
All right,
Why don't we just get him a placket for
I'm telling you.
it's on nameplate.
it's less than last meeting.
Yeah, I know. Okay, 8 PM, discussion of draft enforcement order to comply with OOC special conditions, 7 Juneberry Lane, 334-1205.
Good evening, Matt Waterman, representing Robert Stone, who's the applicant for the certificate of compliance that we were preparing. There was some issues that came up when we did our as-built survey. Bob is in the audience tonight. Similar to kind of a recent enforcement order on another property, this one is similar and has its own little issues in the sense that the property has since been sold, and Bob's obligations are to finish and obtain the certificate of compliance. So there's just that little twist to kind of make the commission aware of. I colorized the plan you had previously in your packets. Had this plan, it was probably hard to read. It was all black and white. I color-coded it with just 3 or 4 basic colors. Some of the green gets two-toned with some overlays, but basically, there's a green that goes around the perimeter, and obviously, there's the 2 red lines. Those are the 50-foot buffers. So those kind of sweep in on the southeast side of the lot, and then on the northwest side of the lot, there's a 50-foot buffer that's associated with the wetland to the north and west. Juneberry's in Hitchapose Green subdivision off of Howard Road. This was part of Phase 2, constructed in 2003. It was, I think, permitted originally earlier than that, went to court, but it was constructed in the 2000s. And then Bob has owned the house, I believe he bought it from the Hicks, and has owned it for the 10-year until he just sold it. There's the 50-foot buffers. The green is the area that's kind of outside what the approved limit of work is. And so there's some areas that go within the 50-foot buffer, and then there's some areas that are towards that southwest corner that are outside the limit of work, but they're outside the 50-foot buffer. And the far right corner of the plan, and I shaded the house that was approved by the commission. It was a square house with a breezeway and a garage that was kind of a side load on the left if you're looking at it from the street. And the driveway was going to be on the plan, it would be on the right-hand side. And then when the builder constructed it, they flipped the house, put the driveway on the other side, made the house smaller, didn't put the breezeway and the garage. It's more of a rectangular house. And you can see the driveway coming in on the upper left corner of the plan, and then coming straight down, and then kind of sweeping off to the left, where there's an athletic court that's to the west of the house. The area that's shaded blue on your plan, that was previously to be cleared as part of the construction, and it's been maintained as natural, so we felt it was important to kind of highlight that. The blue area that I shaded, not all of it's within the 100-foot buffer, but it was area that was preserved. So it was just, I felt like it was just important to note that. And you can see there's kind of 3 or 4 primary issues. There's a shed that's to the bottom middle, and I'll point to it with the pointer because I have it right here. There's a shed that goes over the 50-foot buffer. And then you come along here and there's a tree house that's off the property onto the conservation land that's owned by one of the Hitch and Post Green condos. There's 2 conservation restrictions. The property to the left is one restriction and the property to the right is a different one. It was HPG 1 and HPG 2, so there's 2 different open spaces, 2 different conservation restrictions. And then when you kind of circle around, we'll just kind of keep going clockwise. There's a kind of a little stone bed here. I think it's more for landscape. We called it a gravel landscaped area. It's not like a basketball court or anything, like like a swing set or anything. It's more just a kind of a natural kind of stone landscaped area. And then when you come along here, there's obviously this portion of the driveway here that's within the 50-foot buffer, within 22 feet of the wetlands. And then you kind of will wrap up here by going to the uppermost. This is off the property. There's just a small landscape area that was previously not to be disturbed, that was cleared a little bit back, and it's maintained as a mulch bed. Some kind of quick numbers, and Matt wanted me to have some numbers. The total green area that goes around, not whether it's in the 50 or not, is about 8,000 square feet. That's area that's additionally cleared. It includes that little triangle. The triangle is about 600 square feet. The blue area is 3,675. That's that area over here. Next, there's a detention basin here. That's 3,675 square feet. The grass area within the 50-foot buffer, which is not counting the driveway, but these little slivers, and if I shaded it as green, this is the number. Some of it's the stone bed, but these areas all add up to 2,550 square feet. The driveway is 850 square feet. So those are just some numbers, some baseline numbers for the board to consider. I haven't had a chance to talk with Bob. He is in the position where he has to work with his lawyers, not only his lawyer, who's the selling lawyer, but the buyer's attorney, and kind of balance whatever this commission decides and moving forward. So we haven't proposed anything. We got the plan in front of Matt, asked for his input, and he quickly drafted up an enforcement order and put it on the agenda, so here we are.
So how do the cars get into the garage on the left?
On this side, the garage is I believe it's a front load. So the driveway comes down.
Okay.
Front load. This is the side of the garage. So this is used as an athletic court.
So that's not going to interfere with getting in and out of the garage if that portion has to be removed.
At least inside the 50-foot, if it's
Yeah.
all removed, right?
Correct. Not that I'm aware of.
How did the house get flipped around without plans indicating that on site? One of our conditions is always. no
It is, and at the,
Plans except the approved ones are supposed to be on site.
I think it was probably, and as Paul would say, it was a simpler time in the sense that the house footprint itself, the main house,
Simpler time?
what Paul says, he has such stature.
That's regulatory oversight, is that what you're saying?
The house itself is directly overlays the approved footprint location. As far as the driveway, I can't, I don't remember. Bob was, the developer was Mr. Hicks. I think it was looked at as either or less. I don't know if it got approval from the agent at the time. I didn't have any records on it. I looked for letters, correspondence. I didn't dig through the files, every file, but nothing jumped out at me, and so I'm not aware of any minor plan change submitted or requested.
So the COC got approved on this?
No, we haven't filed the COC yet.
Yeah, it never got approved on it.
Correct.
The original lot? Oh.
Correct. The order conditions,
They have never gotten
Right.
wow,
Wow.
certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
yeah,
Another
and
one
the
of
order
those
is expired.
that's
It's one of
been
those,
open
so
for
that's been open forever, so you
decades.
never
Yeah.
get to see
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You know, there should be a sunset on one of those,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
if we don't get one, because look how long it could be.
Yeah, I know.
And this was something back in November, December timeframe, when the house was going through the sale, it certainly, no COC came up, not having a COC came up. And typically in the past, it's, withhold work with the buyer,
Yeah.
withhold a little bit of money, I'm not saying that anymore. This is a change of practice.
No. I mean, typically, guys, what we would do is we would say, hey, restore. This is, outside, so this is okay, but areas within the 50, we'd have them restore.
Yeah.
And all the.
I'm really happy that the blue is still blue, that, that's an area within our jurisdiction that's still, outside of the 50, within the 100, so, certainly happy to see that. Other than that, I think.
No, and I pictured us kind of getting your comments tonight.
Yep.
Working, obviously, with Bob and,
Yep.
and the players that he has to deal with, working with Matt, coming up with the plan. I don't know how the enforcement order would issue. I think he put a draft order together that kind of spells out.
I can certainly change, again, there were still some areas left to be kind of completed, so I can certainly rework that after conversations with
We anticipated that there would be some restoration, that the conservation post would have to get installed.
Yep.
When that gravel landscape bed comes out, there'll be trees that'll be put in, right? Because that's what.
Or some ground cover or something.
Yeah, and that one actually has like a kind of a natural feel to it. There are some trees mixed in that bed.
One of the enforcement order findings was clearing of trees beyond the approved limit of work and installation of a gravel landscape bed.
Well, I didn't know if that area had trees there
I'm
that
not
they.
sure.
It does. We can bring pictures when we kind of.
Aware.
Maybe, okay, I can see where that.
That's fine.
But yeah, so some sort of restoration plan and
Okay.
go from there, but.
And I think we need, obviously, the enforcement order to get the work done too.
Oh, yeah, so legally, yeah. Okay, so you're gonna modify?
Yeah, I'll amend the draft enforcement order. I can sign that and issue it
Okay.
to start the work.
All right, so let's approve the enforcement order as amended.
I think that was thorough, Matt, very good, with
Yeah.
the details in there from the.
Okay, so a motion to,
So move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Takes me a minute to get up here. Emily Taylor, 9 Texas Road, can you also say that an as-built needs to be submitted for consideration? Because this is
It
like.
has to be in order for us to issue the certificate of
Oh, good.
compliance.
So the next time you look at this, it's not gonna have the breezeway and the wrong driveway and all that stuff.
No, this was to show what was approved, what's there existing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, the intent was to kind of help
So this
visualize
never
what the
got
changes were.
approved.
I get that.
Yeah.
But, okay, but when they come back, you will
Right.
have an as-built.
After he performs the work, he's gonna submit a as-built.
Oh, thank
And then we'll issue a certificate of
Okay.
compliance.
So I worked on a lot of plans in the planning office, and I just.
Yep, okay. Okay, we're good?
And maybe come back to the board in either a couple of weeks to kind of
Sure, if you're gonna have it in 2 weeks, come back. We'll-
formalize a
Yeah.
plan of attack, and I don't know, Bob, if that's enough time, do you think, to?
Complete the work, or?
No, not to
No,
complete
just
the work, to kind
just the
of,
plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a question about the 50-foot buffer zone
Yep.
posts. Is that something I'm gonna be responsible for putting in, or?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah, I mean, that's a requirement that we have in all our projects now, when you're so close to the 50-foot.
Well, wasn't that in the original order?
Yep.
it was.
So it's something the developer should have done
Yeah,
building your house.
That's correct.
yeah.
So maybe you can go back, well, no, I guess he's not there anymore.
He's not there anymore. so.
Yeah, and we could certainly, I guess that we don't have to come back if we, the only thing, I didn't know, similar to Buckboard, where we kind of presented a plan that everyone agreed on, if there was any issues. I mean, obviously, if we come back to the approved limit of work, but I was thinking that there might be different subtle changes that was maybe not shown outside the 50-foot buffer. Obviously, we'll focus our restoration
Come
within
back
the
and
50.
show us your plan.
Just.
That was my
show
thoughts,
us the
just
plan.
thinking that there,
Okay. And
Well, you
and
make your
we'll
case.
finalize the plan at the next meeting, so you can get the work done, and then we'll take this.
I just think that would probably be, I think, easier moving forward, and obviously, if we comply 100%, then we don't need to come, and we could certainly let Matt know.
Okay? So we
Thank
good?
you. Yes, absolutely, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our 8:10 continuing public hearing for Franklin, and we're going to continue this to, when do you want to come in?
He requested a continuance until June 8th.
June 8th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 8:15, appointment with Veronica McElroy requesting permission to serve alcohol at an event at
If
Stony
you
Brook
could
Conservation
take
Area.
up the next one, I need to actually dial her, grab the.
Oh, she's going to call in?
Yeah, she's lives in
Okay,
California.
so we'll go to our 8:20, which is a continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for 85 Carlisle Road, 2 Amerik Way, and 3 Amerik Way, 3341790. Is anybody here for this, or? So no one's here for Anne Marie Way?
No, they had one comment that I sent out for.
Okay.
That for the time being, it's actually.
The top or the bottom?
Sure, you want, you go ahead. You gotta, wanna,
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I guess with this, it's the same, I don't know the standard order of conditions, so I'm sorry, I might be duplicating what you're already putting in there. But I assume you'll be asking for the 2 foot, the 2 foot up and 2 foot down markers that you mentioned in.
Yes.
Oh, the conservation
post?
post.
Yeah, so there'll be 2 up and 2 down.
yep,
Good, because I was thinking it'd be flat on the ground. And there will be a non-mow area.
Yes, that's included.
that's
Okay.
included, yeah.
And then, I don't think there are a lot of big trees at all on the property, but maybe the planning board will do that.
Which side are you talking Anne Marie Way?
Yeah, yeah.
85 Carlisle Road.
Right.
That comes up, the property ends behind some of our houses on Texas Road.
Okay, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
So what was the one change they requested?
The second finding on page 10B, it said, The closest limit of work to the BBW is 50 feet and no structures are proposed within 100 feet. It should actually read 75 feet.
Okay. Any other changes on this order?
There was another missing space, and also it looked like the third finding was the same as the 13th finding. The one about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, good catch. Okay.
Thought it was
Take that
important, wanted to have it twice.
Yep. You'll have to remember them.
Well, that's the nice thing about the findings, there's no real numbering, but.
Yeah, right. Okay, that it? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve these, this order of conditions as amended?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You getting around? Oh, great.
Hi, this is Veronica.
Hi, Veronica. This is Matt Salem with the town of Westford. You're on speakerphone before the commission, so if you could state your name for the record and go through your briefly go through your request.
Sure. My name is Veronica McElroy, and I'm calling on behalf of the McElroy family who, for many, many years, lived on Nutting Road with 3 kids, one of them being Bridget McElroy, who this past fall passed away from brain cancer, and she was 39 years old. So the family, I'm the wife of one of her brothers, Dennis, and his another brother, Patrick. And they decided that a very special place to her and to the rest of the family is East Boston Camp, even though none of us live there anymore. So I've been working with Michelle Collette, planning a celebration of life for this upcoming Memorial Day weekend on Sunday, the 29th of May. And I'm going before you tonight to get the permission. We're going to serve a lunch, and we'd like to serve some beer and wine with lunch. Nothing crazy. It won't be like a wild wedding or a frat party or anything like that. It's just a celebration of life. We just want to, extend that offer to our guests.
So where are you going to be having the lunch? In the dining hall?
Yep, in the dining hall.
In the dining hall, okay. So the alcohol has to stay inside. That's one of our requirements,
Okay.
right? So there's no walking around with a beer in your hand, so.
Okay.
You have to be in one of the buildings where the event's occurring, okay?
Got it.
Other questions from the commission?
When's this gonna be?
May 31st, the Monday?
No.
Sunday?
No,
29th?
it's actually May 29th, the Sunday.
The Sunday, the Sunday of the weekend.
Yes.
Yep,
Fine with it.
It's at 1 o'clock lunch.
okay, yeah, pretty simple.
You know what they gotta do with the selectmen for one-day licenses?
So that's only for the sale of alcohol, so
Yeah.
serving
Nope,
is,
they're
the
good.
commission typically has
That's-
required limited liability insurance. Veronica mentioned she already submitted that to Michelle Collette, and also have a tip certified bartender to
Right.
make sure that no one is overserved.
So we should be, this is good. This is a nice event, so. It's kind of a motion to
Okay,
approve
great,
the
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're good to go.
Great, thank you so much for your time. Have a
Okay.
nice
Thank
evening.
Have a nice event.
Bye-bye.
Good, okay, we're gonna move on to our 8:25, which is a continued public hearing and issue order conditions for Blaisdell, 3 Mark Vincent Drive, 334-1793. Okay, order conditions. Commission have any?
How about the applicant?
They had no comments on, they reviewed the draft order conditions, had no comments. I did receive one from Margaret. Second finding, should be managing the invasive species, not maintaining the invasive species.
Well, if we don't maintain them, they won't be around.
Oh, my goodness. It's pretty bad, man.
Yes.
This is what happens when we have to write like 10 orders in 1 week.
I know.
Smart, smart.
Thank you all for catching those typos.
Yeah.
Garlic mustard.
Okay, so we're good with this? So can I have a motion to approve the amended order of conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Sometimes it's really easy being a proofreader. It's a lot easier to read what you haven't written.
We haven't read it before.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
But you're really good at finding.
Okay, we're moving on to our 8:30,
That's
which
the
is
least the right
discussion of
code.
draft enforcement order at 115 Concord Road.
I received you received the draft enforcement order, this evening, prior to the meeting. I was contacted by Mass DEP's Nero enforcement, officer, I forget what her actual title is, a couple weeks back, at an open house for the subject property. Somebody observed a couple 55, metal 55-gallon drums by the detached garage at the rear of the property. They forwarded the complaint to me. I consulted with the Board of Health to coordinate a site visit. Board of Health also coordinated with DEP's Bureau of Solid Waste, I think, regarding a site visit, and as the result of the site visits, what's it called? The release tracking, the notice of responsibility was issued to the personal representative for the estate, as the previous owner has passed away. Additionally, so with the notice of responsibility, a licensed site professional is required to evaluate, characterize the contents of the property related to the release of, I think it was kerosene, which was a reportable amount. There is bordering vegetated wetlands associated with a perennial stream on the property. So that's where this enforcement order, I've drafted it. There are still some, wasn't able to get the personal representative from the estate to attend the meeting, just conflicts. So if I would like to follow up with the commission, or continue this to the commission's May 25th meeting, and coordinate a little bit further with the Board of Health's enforcement order, so that there's some synergy between what's being required, so we're not requiring these people to do 3 different things.
Okay.
So,
We're gonna come up with one set of direction for cleaning the drums, the kerosene oil, everything?
so that's already handled underneath the state's 21E or the notice of responsibility handled to, the cleanup for the spill. This is more related to, there was a paving operation that was conducted there, for some time, and so there, debris consistent with paving, asphalt, crushed up asphalt. There are a couple of pieces of machinery, or components of machinery that are kind of in the buffer right now. So in addition to the cleanup of the kerosene sheen as documented by the DEP investigator, I'm also looking to have kind of the debris from the paving operations remediated and the site renaturalized. I know there is a sale, or I know they are, looking to sell, but I just want to make sure that, what we're asking for is consistent with what Board of Health is asking for, which is consistent with what DEP is asking for, so.
One thing that was missing a lot was dates,
Oh, okay. The dates for when things.
when things should be done.
Okay, yeah, I'll certainly follow up with DEP. DEP had some dates in the notice of responsibility, but I can certainly figure out, make sure that the timeframes are.
When does when do daily fines, when could they commence? As soon as we sign the order? Or as soon as we sign the violation? Is that when fines could start?
No.
When?
They're gonna have to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
So we need to give them a date to come up with a plan. And if they don't come up with a plan, then you start fining them. The first part is to come up with a plan,
All right.
which they're gonna have to do for the state.
Yeah, right now, they've got,
This is unbelievably egregious,
Yeah,
drums and
it's a mess.
absolute mess.
and they're gonna have to get an LSP like we had one here for the town.
Yeah.
Because, they've been given a release tracking number, it's under the auspices of the Bureau of Waste Site Cleanup. They'll have to come up with a plan that the Northeast Regional Office is gonna approve. We'll probably have some input into that if you'd like, but I'm thinking that's gonna, the LSP is gonna put together a plan for this site that's, the DEP is gonna have to agree to. And, that's probably gonna be the overarching plan, if we wanna add stuff to it, but.
Is this gonna be one of those things where the owner puts up a bond of some sort to pay for a licensed site professional that works for the town?
This is between the
I would like to have
this is
one.
between the Mass DEP and the LSP, pretty much outside the towns.
I mean,
It's not
there
like the
is.
town's gonna come to this individual and say, we want you to put up a bond or something for cleanup.
To pay for a licensed professional to work for us. This is a mess. This is gonna take, this is gonna be something similar to what, we got on North Street there.
Yeah, but the town owns that property. I mean, it's the owner's responsibility to be in compliance with the state for the LSP.
Exactly.
So we're just gonna have to wait, wait and see what happens when everything
I would wait and
goes.
see the plan that, is proposed.
What do we have for the deadline for the plan?
I can certainly, I was gonna say.
I think we have to put deadlines on everything. This could just drag on.
We really have to wait for the state to weigh in first.
Yeah, they are in the driver's
They're
seat
in the
here.
driver's
Yeah,
seat.
so the release in accordance within, so the second check mark on the notice of responsibility issued to the personal representative, submit a completed release notification form to Mass DEP in accordance with 310 CMR 40.0300 within 60 days of the date of release or threat of release notification or the date of service of this item, whichever comes first. So
They have 60.
60 days from this being served on,
All right, I'm not happy with
April
that,
29th.
I understand we have to kind of live with that, but I do like this part. If the state's gonna be sort of taking over the enforcement in a sense, we're gonna be working under their fines of the $25,000, right? Not 300.
Well, that's the state. The money goes to the state, not to us.
I don't care where it goes.
Right,
I want it
yeah.
out of the pocket of the owner. if-
Yeah, well, yeah, they're gonna have, they're right. The state has all the power on this, so. Okay, so this will come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I will,
Won't be sold anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not gonna get sold anytime soon.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Okay, let's move on to our next agenda item, which is continued public hearing and issue order conditions for Campbell, 12 Lower Road, 334-1795.
the applicant was provided a copy of the applicant was provided a copy of the draft order of conditions. They had no comments on it. They did provide a revised plan, commenting that the removed trees will be replaced with red maples, and erosion controls were provided on both sides of the driveway from where the water line is being installed.
Okay. Any change from the commission? We're all good? Motion to approve the order of conditions.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move on to our 8:30, which is the continuation of public hearing, issue order of conditions to the sub-area trustees in the town of Westford Conservation Department, 18 Bowes Road, Lot 2, 334-1796.
Take this one as well. We received comments from the Mass DEP analyst regarding how the project meets the mass stream crossing standards that apply. I provided a letter or memo to that effect. It is a bridge, which was the optimum type of crossing. There's no embedment. The span crossing exceeds the 1.2 times the bankful width of the stream. The openness is over 4 meters, where the optimum was at least 0.25 meters. Substrate isn't applicable, as the proposed design uses auger posts for footings, and water depth and velocity. Again, the proposed design uses auger posts and footings, so the water depth and velocity will not be altered from the existing conditions in the natural channel. Commission has any questions?
You guys go with the order? Okay, motion to approve the order of conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, who's up next? Noel's up next on yoga class at Grassy Pond.
What about the update on 87
Yeah,
Graniteville?
87 Graniteville. We received comments from the,
I wanted to do her first. My prerogative.
Okay. You want me to come sit up?
Yes, come up the front.
To recuse ourselves? No.
Oh, they're good. Okay, tell us what you're gonna do.
Noelle Donovan, 11 Moore Road. I've designed a yoga class for kids and their parents or guardians to attend, where we spend time in nature and we learn about nature and learn how to quiet our minds. It's an hour-long class where we would just be doing a meditative walk through the property. We wouldn't be disturbing anything or going off trails. Teaching the kids about different types of birds and trees and little nature facts, and that's the idea.
How often are you gonna have it?
That is up, I have a lot of moms interested right now, so at least once a week I would be doing this. And it would be early in the morning.
Early in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
and it's rotating between the two of these. Are there other locations you're looking to do? So it's be once a week at a location?
Right.
Okay.
And the end of Hemlock kind of inspired me to do this, because I feel like our kids really need to understand what conservation is and the effects that they have on the environment and the conservation land. And to give them something better to do.
Yeah. Good.
Good with it?
Everybody good?
Yeah,
Motion to approve
So moved.
request?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
You're good. Okay, now we're gonna do an update on 87 Graniteville Road enforcement order. So Matt, you wanna fill us in?
Yes, so included in the meeting packet was a letter email from the abutters brother, Mr. Stancada. On Monday, I was out with the property owner, measured 100 feet from the wetland resource areas, both the finger that continues up alongside the railroad tracks and also from the other side of the pile of loam. Discussed with them installing the erosion controls between the existing piles and the wetland resource areas, and identified where the 100-foot buffer from that was for them to remove it to. Gave them the time frame of 2 weeks from this past Monday.
Yep.
They understand and plan on doing that.
Complying.
So they understood that if that pile's not moved in 2 weeks, the commission could start issuing fines, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
There were quite a few dates in the enforcement order for this site.
I think there was also another early June.
Okay,
I'll
there's-
have to.
there's a few coming up. All right, good.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would the commission entertain 5 minutes, just a little bit of information that for people that haven't been able to visit the site, there's some more recent photos, and maybe just a couple of quick questions on how.
I don't want to put this out, because he's gone on the site, he's told them what they've got to move outside of the buffer. And if you disagree with that, I mean, you certainly can comment on it, but I don't want any lengthy discussion on it, because we've issued the enforcement order, and we've given them 2 weeks.
Appreciate that,
Yep.
then.
Is it things other than the removal of the pile that you're referring to, or?
It's the timing, it's the removal of the pile, there are no erosion controls in place, there haven't been from the start of work.
But
The area's
we've
been
addressed that with them.
disturbed.
They've got 2 weeks to do all of that. And they're also going to be filing a notice of intent down the line, too.
If they want to continue the activity.
Right.
At the last, one of the big concerns was at the last meeting, which, Mr. Chairman, you weren't in
I wasn't
attendance,
there.
I believe, but there was a discussion about a notice of intent that would allow that pile to stay where it is
No,
today.
it doesn't matter. I mean, we told them to move the pile, it has to be moved, okay? Whatever is done under the order of conditions is a whole nother public hearing.
I remember
But I
saying.
can tell you right now, we're not going to allow them to
Yeah, I
move
remember
the pile
saying,
back
you
in.
know, we wouldn't allow it in anything that would be forthcoming, so, remove it. I remember making that statement.
Yeah, no, and we hope, we absolutely hope that that's how it plays out. What's been really disappointing is that the property owner really is doing what he wants to do. And our concern is that the property owner, who hasn't been following the order to date, is gonna take that pile. What if they bring a screener on site and attempt to screen the material and spread it within the buffer? What if they don't screen it and just simply spread it in the buffer?
He's got it in the enforcement order, it has to be moved outside
It
the
said
buffer.
removed, yeah, it doesn't
Removed.
say screened,
Right.
And if he wanted to spread
And I
loam
think-
within the buffer,
and
he
he
still
made
needs
that
the
perfectly
pile.
clear to them when he went out there.
Right, and it was to remove it, we pulled a tape measure, 100-foot tape measure from the edge of the wetland resource area, 100 feet out, and they marked it on the ground with orange spray paint, field spray paint. And they understood that there wasn't to be any stockpiling of material within that 100 feet, within that.
And so Matt, for instance, that 100-foot buffer, which is on this plan, in the field, it comes halfway through the parking area that's at the bottom of the driveway. Is that where it actually lays out on the ground? What I was wondering was, is it consistent with this plan? This
I think it's consistent with this plan.
Could I just ask that you identify yourself
Well,
just for the minute?
I'm sorry, I thought I was introduced.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm Paul Sincotta. My sister Karen Sincotta lives at 83, the house next door, and she owns the house next door.
So he's
Then I would, it'll save me postage, actually, if I can just leave this
That's
letter
fine,
here.
right. So
with
just so
some
you understand,
photographs.
he's got 2 weeks to move the pile, or the fines will start at our next meeting. Okay?
We appreciate that the Conservation Commission is really focusing on this.
Yeah.
It feels like the property owner's been doing what he's wanted to do up to this point, and it's been slow. And
Yeah.
we're concerned that it's not going to get addressed properly.
Well, if he doesn't address it,
It may be slow, but it will get addressed
you know,
properly.
we'll start finding, we can find up to $300 a day for non-compliance, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Here, sorry.
Okay, draft order for conservation restrictions, Spalding Hill Estates.
Yes, so there were two conservation restrictions for subdivisions that were previously approved by the planning board, and as a condition of approval, they need to get recorded and have, you know, majority of the work done for the with regards to the Spalding Hill Estates, that has been already reviewed by town council, and wanted to seek the commission's input on the prohibited acts and uses and the reserved rights and exceptions. And there's, you know, there's a trail to be constructed in the approximate location as shown on the definitive plans. Outdoor passive recreational activities allowed. I had no comments regarding this, but I wanted to also make sure the commission saw it. And if people took notice of the composting reserved right, that will lead into my discussion on the conservation restriction for Colonel Roll's subdivision, which during the review by town council had a couple of questions, wanted clarification by the commission. Composting, so under the Colonel Rolls, it's stockpiling and composting stumps, trees, brush, limbs, and similar biodegradable materials originating on the premises. I included a couple examples from the Stupinski conservation restriction, which follows much more similarly to the Spalding Hills draft conservation restriction. Also, there was a composting approved use on the Elderberry Estates. So with prior approval, notice and approval by the grantee, stockpiling, composting, you know, may be allowed, but, you know, the, in locations present not have deleterious.
No other CRs have in their composting paragraphs anything about like the limits on size or like?
I hadn't seen anything. I think this is a more recent addition to the draft conservation restriction.
I mean, we have to approve it.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right.
but there's no, it says, yes, you can do it with permissions and all that.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if there was some sort of like a size limit. I
What-
don't know how many cubic yards is a big hanging pile.
But,
I mean, on a conservation restricted area or allowing it to occur, yeah, we should be
Right.
setting limits,
That's
or
all.
else we're gonna be hosting a composting operation.
Yeah.
Again, with kind of the Stupinski, the language in it, you know, materials originating on the premises. So if you go back to the draft conservation restriction for Colonel Rolls, the premises are defined, is a defined property, you know. So for Colonel Rolls, it's located in Westford, more particularly described in Exhibit A, and shown as open space parcels A, B, and C on the reduced copy of the survey plan attached. So in my reading of that, it is allowed by, it would be allowed by the commission for composting of materials that originate on the CR property and get piled, and, you know, it's not somebody's, not one of the lots getting moved to the premises, is my interpretation of that.
So it would be limited by how much cutting and
Or just
stump grubbing
Well,
they're gonna have on the property.
They can't do anything on the CR without our
property.
approval.
Right,
Right.
that's the only place that the stuff can come from then.
Right, that's my, you know.
Is the CR parcel itself, or the CR parcels themselves, so if a tree fell in the meadow and you wanted to compost
That
it,
effectively limits it, that's
Yeah,
okay.
it limits it.
Yeah, again, it's not for, I mean, and I can certainly speak to town council about including language to clarify, you know, leaves and debris from lots
Yeah,
shall not be.
this isn't the neighborhood, you know,
Exactly.
composting, leaf dumping area.
Right.
this isn't where you go dump your poison ivy.
Yeah.
So if that's an acceptable clarification from the commission,
Yeah, that's
I can certainly take that back. And then also, typically, the grantee shall have 60 days to respond to any document, or 60 days is usually a typical time frame. For some reason, they had 30, but
Yeah, no, 60 is.
council wanted 60, so.
Not enough time.
Okay. And were there any other comments on the Spalding Hill Estates draft conservation restriction?
Nope. We
Okay.
move forward with it.
Great, thank you.
So when will we get the finals on these?
As the baselines get done by that, I mean, this is, the planning board subdivision approvals required that the draft conservation restrictions be, or at least for kernel rolls, be ready for local signatures, which is a term, by the conservation restriction program, with baselines done, plans, I mean, the
Ready for
plans.
signing.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, so we're not there yet.
Yeah.
They're working towards them, but they are typically conditions of approval for the planning board for work to start releasing building permits. So they need to start working on these, and that's why, we're getting them all now, because all the developers in town want to start building their actual houses on the properties. So they'll be coming.
Okay. Last item, certificate of compliance, 143 Carlisle Road, Adams, 3340910.
I performed a site visit with the applicant's engineer, beginning of last week, end of last week. Everything looked good out there. The special conditions were complied with, and I recommend the commission issue the order, certificate of compliance for 334-0910.
Motion to that effect?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One more item.
One more item.
Trees.
Yes.
Are the boulders there?
Boulders are there, all 6 of them.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh, good.
last week they arrived.
Yeah,
Okay,
last
good.
week too.
So now we have to have, every 2 weeks, we have to have the, on the discussion action items, the plantings. Matt had a couple of ideas of, they gotta be pretty hardy plants, because it's within 10 feet of a roadway, so there'll be plenty of salt and sand.
Yep.
Salt, compaction, low maintenance.
Right.
I had a couple of criteria for very specific plants, because I don't really want to maintain them. I
Right.
want them to
We don't want anybody.
easy
down there.
bake, easy bake oven, set it and forget it.
Okay, so Highway's gonna do this?
Yeah, I'll get the plan to them.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
So you're looking for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.